Hi, my name is Frank Shaffer, and I was raised to be the sidekick of an evangelical evangelist in the 1970s and 80s. My father, Francis Shaffer, went on to become one of the founders of the anti-abortion movement in its Protestant context that eventually took over the Republican Party and made abortion into a litmus test that now divides our country, has destroyed the Republican Party by opening a door to Donald Trump to play the, quote, pro-life game. The same way Ronald Reagan did, by the way, who, in case you didn't remember, legalized abortion in California, then changed his mind to get the evangelical vote. That's by way of an introduction to something I want to say in the light of us assassinating an Iranian general, them shooting some rockets at us, and now a plane came down in the Ukraine, shot down in the chaos by the Iranians, who fired 2 missiles at it, thinking that it was an American bomber, and so forth and so on. Here's the point, and I'm afraid this won't make me any friends. Religion has no place in civil authority or in government. What does Iran teach us? Taken over by the mullahs in their revolution after they overthrew a despotic regime of the Shah and nevertheless became even more despotic themselves under their ayatollahs and their mullahs and their revolutionary guard and so forth and so on. What does Saudi Arabia teach us with their king who murders journalists and has them dismembered in his embassies around the world and in Turkey in particular? What does Israel annexing the West Bank tell us and the American move of the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem? It tells us the same story as the evangelical takeover of the Republican Party in this country, where William Barr, the Attorney General, is now using his office to shill for theocracy, talking about America being taken over by secular humanists and liberals and how we have to push back and reclaim it for God. Because my family was involved in just this kind of effort back in the 70s and 80s, and because I left, and the New York Times said that I was a traitorous prince to an evangelical royal family being the Schaffers, I have been on the inside of this movement for a long time. So please listen up. The greatest danger to the world right now, besides climate change and rising oceans and temperatures, is the creeping takeover of democracies around the globe by white nationalist and or other nationalist religiously based movements. India is in trouble with a nationalist Hindu movement trying to take over that country and push their Islamic minority out. Saudi Arabia is an awful place, treats women horribly, murders people around the globe. The Gulf states, with their religious obsession with Islam, thinks it's okay to kidnap their princesses or any other women that try to flee these regimes and bring them back to their misogyny. Afghanistan is a quagmire for itself even more than us. And what is the thing that links Pakistan, India's nationalist government, the nationalist governments of Poland now and Hungary, whether they're talking about returning to Christianity or returning to Islam or returning to Hinduism, it is the displacement of democratic values with religious fanaticism. That is what links all these trouble spots of the world. Israel, founded on the idea that it would be a Jewish country, originally founded by secular Zionists, now taken over by Orthodox Jews who are outpopulating the rest of the country with their many children program. Well, by the way, they don't serve in the armed forces, so there's a little problem for you in the future. The United States, in the grip of fanatical, right-wing, white nationalist evangelicals who have taken over the Republican Party and have people like William Barr as an attorney general, in quotes attorney general, pushing for a theocracy. The same theocracy, by the way, my father, Francis Shaffer, pushed for in his last book, A Christian Manifesto, where he went so far as to call for the violent overthrow of the United States government if all democratic means failed to overturn Roe v. Wade. Be warned. We talk about religious freedom and, oh, we're so delicate and we're afraid to criticize religions. We're going to be called Islamophobe or anti-Christian or anti-Muslim or anti-Indian or anti-Hindu. No, I am not attacking one religion over, above, or another. I am saying there is a move across the planet now to simplistic, stupid answers founded within religions that, I'm sorry to say it, and this is where I'll offend people, are mythology. They are not true. Israel is not a chosen nation, not because I'm against Jews, but because no one is chosen. There may or may not be a God. But I'll tell you one thing for sure. He's not picking little desert tribes one over another to reveal his truth to any more than the gods, the panoply of deities up there, has picked Hinduism as somehow special. And I have news for Saudi Arabia. You will fall, you and your miserable House of Saud, clinging to your Islamic faith as a rube clings to untruth on one hand and on the other hand cynically in your royal family, upholding yourselves with your mullahs, spreading your Wahhabist radicalism around the world. You have sowed the whirlwind and you have reaped the whirlwind in terrorism globally. And now the United States is mired in the Middle East. And the problem with the Middle East is it's all these religiously, fanatically based countries like Israel and Saudi Arabia and Iran and the factions in Iraq fighting each other. And we're being drawn into these religious rules by a fool of a president who went in front of a Christian audience a couple weeks ago and said, God is on our side. That is the language of the mullahs. That is the language of totalitarian religion. And William Barr is out there at the same time arguing that we have to return to our Christian values, which is code for re-electing Trump so he continue this theocratic path. And meanwhile, people like Jim Baker and these other television idiots, fundraising goofballs and con artists are talking about Jesus coming back soon and how Trump is paving the way. Let me tell you something, America. You better stand up and reclaim your democracy from these evangelical fanatics. And that goes for Iranians too, not evangelicals, but your mullahs. And that goes for Israelis too. And that goes for Saudis. And that goes for Indians with their Hindu nationalists. We are either going to move into an era of democracy and deal with climate change and all the things really facing us, or we're going to disintegrate into a bunch of religious fanatical factions. The choice is yours. My name is Frank Shaffer.